Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Attrition Sim Race Campus Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products. Tonight here for round number 10 of Season 14 here at none other than the Auto Club Speedway here in Fontana, California. Quite the picturesque speedway. I never really realized just how great of a view this speedway has right outside the track limits up until coming here for tonight's broadcast. But I'll tell you what, that is quite the picturesque view they've got going on back out there. And that makes it such a shame that the track is currently closed down. Of course, opened up back in 1997. Has had racing kind of intermittently off and on. It hasn't been consistent since it opened. It's held NASCAR races. It's held a couple of IndyCar races as well. But right now, currently closed for a supposed reconstruction that's currently in a bit of weird limbo where honestly, who knows if they're going to get the track reopened or not. Hopefully they will. But if not, at least we do have it here on the virtual iRacing.com platform to enjoy. First time that the ASRC Oval Series has visited this speedway though. And of course, a little fun fact with it, this track was used as a stand-in for Daytona in the film Ford versus Ferrari. Of course, Daytona, famously known for its blue walls with any mention of the track name either taped over or having like wooden planks affixed to the walls to cover up any suspicious track branding. Of course, still following the 2003 racing season here in the ASRC Oval Series, and this race in real life was won by Kurt Busch. That said, drivers are making their way on down to the starting grid, so how about we take a look at how things shake up here this evening for this 125-mile event. Starting out here on the pole this evening in the Trailer Park Dude 01, the driver out of Canton, Georgia, leading the championship point standings by just shy of 300 points. That is going to be none other than Mr. Kevin West. Starting his outside in the Amp Energy 17, that's going to be Mr. Daniel Wiles, followed by SM Racing Products driver Jeremy Morrow in the 74 machine, one of the drivers out of Topeka, Kansas. Back and forth, going to be multi-time champion here in the series, running part-time here this season, and that's going to be none other than the Nihon Tiger 85 of Brian Sabelski. Back in fifth, going to be previous season champion in the number 15 SM Racing Products driving entry, another driver out of Topeka, Kansas. That's going to be none other than Garrett Streets. Back in sixth, in the unsponsored 78, that's going to be Mr. Derek Murphy, followed by rookie driver here tonight in the Lowe's number 7 machine. That's going to be Tommy Reynolds running off in 7th. Back in 8th, that's league administrator Jason Gardner, followed by the CZ Robotics 24 of Corey Logan. Back in 10th, another league champion here. That's going to be the 00 of Garrett Hess in the Everfrost. Not actually in the Everfrost entry here tonight. No, he is running a very special paint scheme here this evening. We're going to be seeing that here in just a little bit. Running for WinRAR here tonight in that 00 entry. Back in 11th, going to be one of our Canadian drivers. That's Liquid Molly 38 of Brandon Feeney, followed by Landon Wood in the number 13 machine, rolling it off position number 12. 13th going to be going back to Nico Morelli in the Dirty Mo Radio number 14, followed by Joshua Rudolph in 14th, Chris Puff in 15th, Daniel Sparks 16th, Michael Sparks 17th, with Johnny Bell rounding out the tail end of this 18-car field here this evening. iRacing.com pace car has made the dive down to the safety of pit lane. We are getting ready to go green flag racing here for the first time in league history here at Auto Club Speedway for the California 125, and green flag up in the air for the first time here at the Auto Club Speedway. And Kevin West off to a pretty solid start here this evening. Really managing to make that low line work for him here. Daniel Wiles already about a full car length back, but once we come out of the corner, start heading down the straightaway, that gap actually closes up a little bit more than I was anticipating it to. These drivers in the pre-race were saying this track should put on some pretty good multi-groove racing, which is always exciting to see. And with how wide this speedway is, this honestly really is not all of that much of a surprise here. We, of course, recently had the iRacing Oval refresh that changed how the track dynamics worked a little bit and how it changes over the course of the race. I'm curious to see how that is going to be playing out at one of these wider speedways like this one. Daniel Wiles managing to snag the lead from Kevin West, though, going down into turns 1 and 2. Already breaking the trend of last week's race where Kevin West led basically every single lap except for when he came down for his pit stop. Already a little bit of driver changing position. So far, the most improved driver right now is the driver back in 4th, up 3 positions right now, none other than the rookie driver here in the Lowe's entry, Mr. Tommy Reynolds down there, making his debut start here with the league, trying to see if he can't make the move on Jeremy Morrow for the final podium position as it runs right now, as Morrow gets a little bit loose coming out of turn number 2. That was something we also heard echoed by a lot of these drivers in pre-race during practice, having a little bit of discussion with them. A lot of them were saying, at this speedway, loose is not fast. Often the saying always goes, the looser your car is, the faster you'll be. But here, seems like these drivers are thinking things might be a little bit sketchier than they are comfortable with, and already seeing a couple of drivers wiggling out on corner exit and having a little bit of hairy moments, but so far, so good. Everything is pointed in the right direction right now, and sure enough, Tommy Reynolds did manage to make the pass on Jeremy Morrow, so now Morrow is on the outside looking in to a potential podium finish here in the later goings of this race, but nothing else. He does have a little bit of breathing room between himself and his SM Racing Products teammate. That's the number 15 of Garrett Streets, as the other Garrett, Mr. Garrett Hess, in the Winroar entry, finds himself up into the outside wall there, going down into turn number 3. The big question on everyone's mind here tonight, can a former champion Mr. Garrett Hess take home a race win in a car that does not have anime girls on it? Of course, typically found in the Everfrost Winter Rider paint scheme. The first time ever seeing him out here in this new livery is we have a driver up on the outside wall. That is Jeremy Morrow, losing 2, 3, 4 positions just like that, falling all the way back to the 8th position. As Sabelski, Logan, and Hess managed to get around him. And now he has Jason Gardner just behind in that number 93, starting to put the pressure down on him as well here. Joshua Rudolph also just behind in that 188 for the hobby entry. Up plus 4 positions from where he's qualified right now, so off to a pretty solid start. Managed to get inside the top 10, and really, it could be an only upwards climb here for this driver. Coming into tonight's event, Joshua Rudolph currently being scored back into the 4th position in the championship standings, just behind Bryson Hickson-Bogg, and then the two of them just behind Brandon Feeney in the standings right now. So Rudolph running back in 10th. Really, every position he can gain here is a big deal, considering our current championships points leader is our current race leader. And we only got 2 more races after this to potentially close that gap up. Right now he's getting the pressure put on him from Derek Murphy just behind in that unsponsored 78 machine. Murphy came into tonight's event running back in 6th, continuing his trend of somehow managing to find himself in 6th or 7th place in qualifying, no matter how many or few drivers we have signed up for the race, as he gets a little bit loose coming off of turn number 4 there, and he's going to have Brandon Feeney pulling up alongside him here now in that Liqui Moly number 38. Derek Murphy now finding himself down 6 positions from where he qualified, though he does manage to get just a little bit ahead of Feeney there in that 38 machine. Will he be able to come up and seal off the move? No, he will not. Feeney manages to keep pulled alongside him here. 8 laps so far in the books. Still got a long way left to go here in this 125-mile race. Of course, following the Real World NASCAR 2003 series, but with quarter-length races. So next week going to be a 100-miler in place of a 400-mile race that was held in real life. And then after that, we have the Coke 600 for round 12 of the season, so that will end up being a 150-mile race, and actually the longest race we will have for probably the entire 2024 racing season here in ASRC. So definitely curious to see how drivers will manage to take to that endurance event we have going on a little bit further ahead. Of course, along with that, it will be the championship event for season number 14. Following our weird kind of double championship format we have going on, where we crown a champion for iRacing seasons every 12 weeks like we've always done in the past several years of ASRC Oval Series competition. But also there will be an overall champion for the Gen 4 car for the overall 36-week NASCAR season. So right now, Kevin West is looking like he is doing pretty solid to take home that championship for Season 14. Who knows if he will be actually taking home the overall championship when we get through the next 24 events that come after this season to make up that title. A little further up ahead, though, we see the two Garretts duking it out. Hess just in front of Streets. Both of these Garretts have taken home championships here in the ASRC Oval Series. Streets trying to go down on the low line and see if he can't make that work for him. Closes the gap up just a little bit, but not quite enough to actually make any sort of overtake going on there. But still within just about 0.2 of a second. Call it maybe 2 car lengths or so down the straightaways, and once we get into the corners, that gap shrinks even further as Hess tries to absolutely rip the outside wall in that WinRAR entry. Streets trying to do a little bit of a more arcing lower line through these corners, and really it seems like either way has merit here. Streets once again pulling all the way down to the bottom of the speedway as we see Hess going all the way up to the top. And sure enough, going through turns 3 and 4, Streets is going to be scored as potentially having the advantage over Hess here. But no, Hess pulls back as he crosses the line, so Hess will have the advantage in this battle for another lap here. Hess really trying to get as close to that outside wall as possible, but he gets a little bit loose, big time loose through turns 1 and 2 there. That's going to cost him a decent bit of a ground, now up to about 0.3 of a second behind Streets. Will we see him try and potentially steal Streets' strategy here, go for the bottom? No, we will not. Both of them now ripping the high line here instead. Hess trying a little bit of a lower line here in that 00, but not quite as low as we've seen Streets go when they were going through in that battle earlier on. Speaking of battles, just behind, Corey Logan duking it out here with Jason Gardner as we potentially have a car off the speedway here. Or not. It's looking like everything's a-okay. We got word from race control that there might have been Daniel Sparks going off the speedway, so let's take a real quick look back and see if there was a reason for that call for a car off the speedway. And oh, just a little bit loose. He managed to avoid the code at the very least, so I don't think we will see Daniel Sparks get an unsafe pit entry penalty at the very least. He's still running out here. Little bit of damage to the right front of that number 4 machine, but it looks like he should be a-okay to keep running so far here this evening, currently being scored back in the 17th position. A little bit further up here, battle going on between Joshua Rudolph and Derek Murphy. Just ahead of the two of them, that was Jeremy Morrow in that red and white 74 machine. That was running up inside the top 3 at the beginning of this race, had that little bit of scrape against the outside wall, and now Rudolph going way down, almost below the apron here in that 188 machine. Not quite sure what the plan was there, if he got loose coming out of the corner or quite what he was doing here. Rudolph currently running back in 11th right now, up +3 from where he qualified here in that For the Hobby entry. The battle has spread out now to 1.2 seconds away from Derek Murphy, though that slide pretty much cost all of the ground he had. But now Morrow starting to get pressure from behind from Murphy here. And Morrow's going to get into the outside wall again. Second time we've seen him do that here this evening, and Murphy is going to clear him here. Will we see Rudolph manage to make the move on him as well? There's a definitely amount of speed difference here, and sure enough, Rudolph is going to get around that 74 of Morrow now as well. That is putting Morrow down -8 positions from where he qualified right now. Not quite how he was looking for things to go here this evening. Now having, looks like, a little bit of technical issues in that 74 machine. Not quite what he was hoping for, but still a long way left to go here. Currently being scored back in the 11th position. How about a little bit further up in the field here? Jason Gardner duking it out with fellow white and orange car driver, none other than Mr. Brian Sabelski. Sabelski still currently holds the record for most championship titles in the ASRC Oval Series in that number 85 machine. Fortunately, can't see him running out here full time anymore. Alas, sometimes other commitments just get in the way, but he has been here since the very beginning of the Oval Series, and even before that, back when road racing was going on in this league all the way back in 2018, 2019. Sabelski has been a part of this community for a very long time, and he's shown that regardless of what car we've thrown at him, he has the skills to walk away with race wins. Right now, Sabelski running back in the 7th position right now, just got passed by Garrett Streets, as we now see Streets and Gardner starting to duke it out there just ahead. Streets, of course, another driver that has taken home a championship here in the ASRC Oval Series, which is a little bit crazy to think about. That we have already gotten 14 seasons of competition done so far here in the ASRC Oval Series. Of course, the very first Oval Series race was held in the street stock at North Wilkesboro Speedway in December of 2020. So things have been going on for a very long time here in the ASRC Oval Series and ASRC as a whole. And great to see new faces out here still showing up here in the league to show up and battle with these longtime veterans. Of course, up in 3rd position right now, Mr. Tommy Reynolds is a rookie driver making his debut start here with the league. Kevin West started here this season. Daniel Wow started this season. Joshua Rudolph, Landon Wood, Chris Puff, all drivers that have started within the last 2 seasons of competition. And definitely great to see all of these folks out here running on these wonderful speedways in these Gen 4 cars. And of course, we always appreciate the support that the drivers give through this league. If you ever want to join the ASRC Oval Series, there are pretty much no requirements other than being a clean and respectful driver. There are no requirements for I rating or safety rating for anything like that. As long as you're able to race clean and be polite with the other drivers, you're pretty much good to go, and you can join whenever you want. Of course, if you join right now, you might not exactly be in the contention for the Season 14 championship, but there's always a new season just around the corner. And every lap you turn is always a little bit of more experience under your belt. And of course, that is what ASRC is all about. Drivers helping drivers getting better at what they enjoy doing. And I'll tell you what, these 3 drivers right here, Grayson Gardner, Garrett Hess, Garrett Streets, they are definitely having a great time down here on this speedway. Crazy battling going on here for positions 4 through 6. As we once again find the 2 Garretts side by side here. Grayson Gardner leading the way in this 3-car battle. And we see pretty much every single line on this speedway getting used as Jason Gardner comes down pit lane. That is very interesting to see. He's going to be the first and only driver to come down. No, that is not true. Chris Puff is down on pit lane right now. Chris Puff has been in his pit box for about 30 seconds now, so it looks like this should be... It does look like this is a scheduled stop for Chris Puff. There should be a scheduled stop for Jason Gardner here as well in that number 93 machine. And I'm curious to see, will we have anyone else join him down here? Looks like tires and fuel will be the call for that number 93. He comes back out on the speedway. We do see more drivers making the call to come down pit lane, though. Garrett Hess, Corey Logan, Derek Murphy, Joshua Rudolph, all coming down right now. A couple more takers as well. Michael Sparks down here on pit lane. As drivers start to make their way down. I'd imagine we're going to see mostly the same strategy here for these drivers, 4 tires and fuel. It's really not all that often that we have seen drivers on the 2-tire strategy. And as we make our way back out on the speedway, it looks like Garrett Hess is going to continue to lead the way over this pack. All in all, roughly equivalent times when it comes to these pit stops. We now see Brian Sabelski coming down onto pit lane, and it looks like he is the only one coming down so far here on this lap. No takers along with him for the time being, so a little bit off cycle for the driver, that number 85. Curious to see how that ends up working out for him. Currently about 38 seconds down on pit lane. So far, the time actually in the pit box has been in roughly the 14 to 15 second range, and sure enough, 14.8 seconds in his pit box for Brian Sapelski. Pretty much right on the money where we've seen everyone else be right now. Couple more takers down on pit lane. We see Tommy Reynolds come down along with Garrett Streets. Going to be our next two takers on pit lane. So our remaining 6 out on the speedway have yet to come down. And I would imagine we're going to see these pit times be roughly in the same general area that we've seen them be before. Now Kevin West, race leader, coming down to pit lane. Daniel Wiles coming down as well. 14.9 second stop for Tommy Reynolds. How are we looking for Garrett Streets? 14.7 seconds, so 14.7. So yeah, really roughly identical sort of pit stop times all around the field. Everyone's pretty much just going 4 tires in fuel all the way. Now let's see how things shake out for our 2 race leaders as they make their way down. That leaves now just our top 4 who have not come down to make pit stops quite yet here. And it is looking like Kevin's going to be going out with a 15.02 to Daniel Wiles a 15.2. So both these drivers taking slightly more fuel than we've seen everywhere else. Otherwise, maybe their pit crews just fumbled a little bit on putting on those tires. But otherwise, really similar lap times or pit stop times all around. Now it looks like our remaining 4 all electing come down, though. Brandon Feeney's down. Johnny Bell. No, Brandon Feeney has elected to stay out, but Johnny Bell, Nico Morelli, Jeremy Morrow have all come down. So that leaves just Feeney and Wood remaining that need to make pit stops here. It's looking like this is going to be a 2-stop race, unless we have a lot of cautions here in the middle of the race. It looks like this will be 2 stops all around. A little bit disappointed to say that so far Johnny Bell not pulling anything crazy on us. The driver of that 27 machine, generally known for doing all sorts of crazy hijinks on pit lane to gain a couple of positions, but so far it looks like he's generally following the same general consensus that we have going on around the field right now. But he is going to be just a little bit faster as he makes his way out of pit lane. Now we see Landon Wood coming down, and Landon Wood is spun around down there. Landon Wood is around, and that might just be his race. Just like that in that number 13 machine. That is a huge mishap here under green, and of course the caution flag did not fly for that, so that's going to be a good 25 or so seconds that he lost from that incident, as far as I can tell. Let's see if we can't take a look back and see if we can't see what caused him to spin out here. Taking a look back here at Landon Wood as he comes in for his green flag pit stop. Going off of turn number 4, so far so good, and looks like the transition off the banking just shifted the weight of the car a little bit, and that's all it took to send him down on his side. Manages to get it backed up, brings it back down to pit lane, but that's still a good 25 to 30 seconds of time loss right there. Now finding himself coming back out on the speedway, being scored back in the 15th position, only 1 lap down though, which all things considered not all that bad. Still up here in the race lead, Mr. Brandon Feeney has not come down to pit lane yet. And still has elected to not come down pit lane, but he is going to pull it down to the apron to stay out of the way of the drivers on newer tires here. It looks like Feeney is really trying to stretch this all the way. Feeney might actually be attempting to go for a 1-stop race here. I think everyone else in the field has set themselves up for a 2-stop race. Feeney looks like he is trying to stretch it to a 1-stopper, and if he manages to pull that off, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it work or not. He needs to go at least another 2 laps on fuel. Probably even another 3 laps just to be safe. Otherwise, you start to get into the territory where he's going to have to depend on cautions in the second half of this race in order to make this thing work. Sure enough, Feeney comes down onto pit lane. I think this is too early to make it on this being the only stop. Regardless, with Feeney down on pit lane, that will cycle Kevin West back around to being our race leader with a 5-second gap over Tommy Reynolds back in second. And Tommy, rookie driver here, making his debut start with the lead here tonight. Up +5 from where he qualified here this evening, so definitely having some good stuff to work with here in that Lowe's entry. As we get 30 laps here in the books, how about we take a ride on board with this rookie driver, see what they are seeing as they go around the Auto Club Speedway. And as fate would have it, somehow this seems to be a trend every time we ride on board with one of these drivers and get some on-board pictures and sounds from these lovely Gen 4 cars. The caution flag flies out on the speedway for the first time here this evening. Seeming like word from race control is Chris Puff is what brought out that caution flag. And there is a little bit of damage on the right front of that number 9 machine, so it looks like we do have a potential suspect in what brought out this caution. So how about we take a look back here, see if we can't try and figure out what all went down here. So looking like coming out of turn number 4, a little bit loose, tries to save it, ends up down in the grass. Keeps the point in the right direction, so far so good. Oh, loses it again, still pointing in the right direction, we're still doing okay. Still hanging on to it, gets back onto the track and almost into the 42 of Michael Sparks, ends up down on pit lane. Going beneath that cone may very well be a penalty, and then it looks like that spin is what actually brought out the caution there. So quite the bit of an incident there for the number 9 machine, at least a very long and drawn out one. Let's take a top-down view from our chopper camera here at that incident. A little bit more zoomed out, you can see behind him, I believe that was Michael Sparks up there. Yeah, I give him some credit though, he almost saved that. There were a couple times where he almost saved that. That was a little sketchy. There's Michael Sparks going by there having the time of his life. That was probably a little bit scary to see. But he almost saved it. All things considered, I'm not really entirely sure what caused this final spin to happen there. Let's take one more look back at this. Let's ride on board with Michael Sparks. He got a front row view to that incident and potentially had a little bit of a code brown there. So far, so good. Just mind his business. He sees the car down in the grass. He goes up high and surprise! There's the car. And unfortunately managed to avoid it, but that was definitely a scary situation to see. But that's going to be because of our first caution flag here this evening. Every single driver in the field came down to pit lane under that yellow. Jeremy Morrow is still down there in the 74 machine, has been down there for a little bit longer than we traditionally see these pit stops be, only by a couple of seconds, but I wonder if maybe Jeremy Morrow had a little bit of damage to get repaired there. We also see Jason Gardner, Brian Sabelski, Derek Murphy all coming back down a second time here, so I wonder if they're really just trying to double up, get as much fuel in these cars as they can to try and make it to the end from here. But of course, it was going to be a two-stop race, so now the question is, will stopping this early give you enough fuel to make it through these final couple of laps? A couple of drivers looking to stay out. At least they're not trying their luck at pitting a second time to really cram the tanks full. Coming west, Michael Sparks going to be your front row coming to the green, though. Michael Sparks having a very solid run right now here this evening. Currently up plus 15 from where he qualified. Started back in 16th, now finding himself leading the field. Coming to the green flag here alongside current points champion Kevin West. So this will definitely be a very exciting restart, and it looks like Sparks maybe didn't take tires. Sparks and Nico Morelli both only 6-second pit stops compared to everyone else in the 14-second range, so I'd imagine those two drivers just elected to not take tires. Either way, we're going to be going green this time by. Pace car is off once again. Well, let's get things rolling once again here for the California 125. Green flag up in the air and wheel spin. Big wheel spin out of Michael Sparks. It looks like not taking tires maybe was not the play then. Caution flag back out on the speedway. I don't entirely know if we need a replay with that. We saw that front and center, but might as well do it for good measure. We've got a lot of caution time to go through here now. Michael Sparks in the 42, leading the field to green alongside the 01 machine, and just a little bit of wheel spin. Those older tires worn down, not quite able to handle getting on the gas that hard, it looks like. Slide on board here, getting an on-board view with the driver here as he comes to the green flag. And yep, gassed it up. Not able to get the car going. Doesn't look like anyone else was involved, so this was a single car incident. But it will be immediately bringing the caution flag back out. It can't give him too much grief though, because this is not the first time this has happened here this evening, and we've seen it come out of our championship points leading drivers here. I believe it was Carl Felver that we saw it out of a couple of races ago, when he was in first place, not even starting on the outside line. What happens? It is what it is. A little bit of front end damage on that 42. Nothing they can't get fixed though, and no other cars involved, so Really no harm, no foul. We'll stack the field back up and try this thing once again. As we see drivers trying to do their best to catch up to the iRacing pace car. We do have a couple more takers down pit lane. Garrett Streese, Nico Morelli, Corey Logan, Brian Sabelski, Jason Gardner as well, all electing to come back down. Looks like the rest of the field pretty much all electing to stay out. Nope, we have a couple more takers coming down now. It looks like the tail end of the field just had trouble catching up to the pace car. Samaro Streets, Feeney, and Sparks also all electing to come down. Kevin West, Tommy Reynolds, Daniel Wiles, Johnny Bell, and Derek Murphy going to be your drivers. Nope, Joshua Rudolph and Landon Wood as well going to be your drivers electing to stay out on the field here under this second caution. But I would imagine now after that restart we're going to see everyone be on new tires this time around. Not going to be any old tires remaining when we come to the green flag again, at least as far as I can tell. Your new front row going to be Kevin West and Tommy Reynolds coming to the green. That's going to be Daniel Wiles, Johnny Bell up plus 14 right now. Johnny tends to find himself being the man with the plan when it comes to pit strategies, and right now it's looking like it might just work out for that 27 machine. And I'll tell you what, Feeney, no, Feeney did pit again on lap 39. I was going to say maybe with the amount of cautions we've had, Feeney could commit to the single stop strategy, but I think he has ditched that plan. I think Feeney is going for the two-stopper as well. Lights are out on the iRacing.com pace car, though. We're going to stack them up 2x2, try this thing again. Going to be 22 to go when we come to the line. So far, 39 laps officially completed here in the book, so we are getting into the final stages here of tonight's event. Kevin West has led the most laps so far, potentially going to be finding himself furthering his championship lead over Brandon Feeney and Bryson Hicksenbog. Now things are going to get stacked back up here as we head down the backstretch. Right now, all drivers still on the lead lap except for Daniel Sparks, who looks like he retired from the event here this evening, but everyone else is still on the lead lap, which all things considered, pretty solid showing so far tonight by these ASRC Oval Series drivers. And I'll tell you what, I think these final 22 laps are going to get a little bit hectic. We're going to see the gloves come off and punches start being thrown. Heading down through turns 3 and 4, though. Getting ready to try this thing once again here in Fontana for the final about 44 miles remaining here in tonight's event. Pace car is off. Let's try this thing again here. Green flag up in the air here at Fontana. Kevin West getting a very solid start here, pulling away from our two other podium drivers as we have trouble. Chris Puff is down in the infield. Comes back up on the speedway. So far, so good. Looking all right in that 9 machine. He has pointed it in the right direction. We are keeping things green here as the battle continues all throughout the field. The mid-pack, we are fanning out 2 and 3 wide as we head down into turns 3 and 4. So far, so good. Everyone's pointed in the right directions, but we are trying all sorts of things when it comes to racing lines. Potentially a little bit of contact up just ahead. Contact there between, that looks like Morrow and Bell potentially. As now we're 3 wide again with Bell, Streets, and Logan. Streets manages to clear through that battle, still side by side for Bell and Logan. As we have a little bit of drifting going on up just ahead, a little bit of a slide for Nico Morelli. Nico Morelli going sideways down into the infield, keeps it pointed in the right direction, manages to save it, but he's going to go back to the tail end of the field here in that 14 machine. Just up ahead, side by side for Feeney and Sparks. Lynn Wood getting involved here in this battle as well. Sure enough, sparks are flying all around the field here this evening Just up ahead, still side by side for Johnny Bell and, or no, that's actually Johnny Bell and Brian Sabelski. Corey Logan has pulled up a little bit of a gap there. Sabelski running back in the 12th position. Sure enough, gets around Johnny Bell without all too much difficulty there. 20 laps to go here at Fontana. And things are getting crazy here this evening, race fans. Jeremy Morrow a little bit further up here, losing a bit of ground as Joshua Rudolph clears him mighty darn quickly here. Looking around the field, the top speeds of all these drivers. So far, fastest top speed reach is actually 202 by Derek Murphy, 202 miles per hour. Everyone else in the 201 to 200 even range right now. These drivers are showing a lot of speed here this evening, and we are nearly side by side for the race lead here. Daniel Wild starting to try and put the move down on Kevin West, getting a little bit loose coming out of turn number 2, but he manages to pull up alongside him here. And just behind, of course, that is Tommy Reynolds, rookie driver in the Lowe's entry, waiting for the opportunity to strike. He would potentially be parking that Lowe's machine here in Victory Lane in his debut start with the league if he manages to play his cards right here. Sure enough, Daniel Wiles manages to take the race lead from Kevin West. Tommy Reynolds just behind, looking to see if he can't make that move happen here as well. Certainly thinking about it, but still 18 to go. Got to be a little bit patient here. And frankly, I think in these final closing stages of tonight's event, patience is going to be a word very rapidly disappearing from these drivers' vocabularies. Just behind, battling going on as well. Derek Murphy and Garrett Hess duking it out here. Hess in that 00 machine. Here to set out that he can prove that he can win a race in a car not adorned with anime girls. Right now on the outside looking into a podium, but he has to make up a pretty solid chunk of ground here, about a second and a half back from our lead pack in that 00 machine. And of course, Derek Murphy also looking like he is about 3 car lengths behind here as well. Further behind, Corey Logan battling it out with Ryan Sabelski for the 9th position here. Both of these drivers have been having pretty solid evenings, running up inside the top 10 all day here today. Really in the mid-pack, most of the mid-pack is still decently bunched up here. At the tail end of things getting a little bit more strung out as Chris Puff has gone down a lap here, it looks like. Still out on the speedway right now, so that leaves Landon Wood as the last driver on the lead lap right now. Jeremy Morrow also getting some pressure put down behind from league admin Mr. Jason Gardner in that number 93 machine. Jason up plus front from where he qualified. Morrow down -3 from where he started, but Morrow really has been all over the place in terms of the running order. He's been up inside the podium. He's been down at the tail end of the field, so right now running up in 6th really isn't all that bad of a showing for the driver of that number 74 machine when you really think about it. But he has a lot of pressure being put on behind from Jason Gardner. He is closing that distance down to about 2/10 of a second here. And speaking of drivers getting pressure put down on him, battle for the race lead here as Kevin West now on the bottom of the speedway trying to make the move on Daniel Wiles for the race lead, and it looks like he's going to get it. Will he be able to clear him? I don't think he's quite got the speed to make it happen. No, he does not. Still side by side going down into turns 3 and 4, and still we see Tommy Reynolds just behind in that 7 machine, waiting for his opportunity to make a strike happen here. The big thing though is you don't want to be too early, because it is going to be real difficult to defend from an overtake from just how wide this speedway is. But he's almost thinking about potentially making it 3 wide here for the race lead as Kevin West and Daniel Wiles side by side, but completely opposite racing lines here. One ripping the highest side of the track that he can get that car up to, the other one basically all the way down on the apron. Now nose to tail for the race lead, all within about 2/10 of a second from each other. Things are going to get crazy here as we cross the line. Going to be 13 to go here at Fontana. And I'll tell you what's crazy racing this speedway has managed to put on As Landon Wood comes down onto pit lane, not expecting to see that here. I just see Chris Puff up there. Lap car. Drivers went out of the way to get around him, but is this a scheduled stop for Landon Wood? It looks like this might be. He's only pitted once so far this race, so this is actually Landon's second stop. So yeah, this is a scheduled stop for the driver of that number 13 machine, but that will be putting him a lap down here this evening as we see Kevin West and Daniel Wiles battling it out for the race lead still. Tommy Reynolds has fallen back almost a full second from this battle. Lost a little bit of speed as they were all overtaking that lap car. Total go. The question is, will he be able to make that ground back up? It's going to be difficult without any sort of draft here, of course, at this 2-mile-long speedway. Speedways are long enough that the aerodynamics do come into play here just a little bit. They're not pulling away from Tommy too drastically, keeping it steady at about a full second behind. Caught about probably 5, 6, maybe 7 car lengths as we have trouble. Chris Puff found himself down in the apron here again. Got it pointed in the right direction though. Getting it back up to speed now in that number 9 machine. Looking like everything is a-okay. No caution flag here this evening. How about this battle going on here for 5th though? This is Derek Murphy, Jason Gardner, Brian Sabelski, as we have trouble potentially for Chris Puff again. Chris Puff's around. Caution flag is out on the speedway. Caution flag out again with 11 to go. I hope these drivers are ready for a shootout to the finish because it's going to be probably 7 to go. 6 or 7 when we come to the green flag after this caution. Before we take a look back at this replay, let's take a moment. Let's see if any of these drivers elect to come down pit lane here. I think that's the big question: is what is the strategy call going to be for all of these drivers in this final segment of tonight's race? Are these drivers comfortable with the tires they've got in a potential shootout to the finish here? They have managed to catch the pace car, so I would imagine that pit lane will open this time by... I can't say that with absolute certainty, but I would imagine we're going to see the pit lane open this time around. So far, not looking like anyone is going to make the call. Everyone stays out. Nope, Jeremy Morrow is going to try and do something risky and come down pit lane. A couple more drivers following through with them. Garrett Streets, Brandon Feeney, Johnny Bell, Nico Morelli all come down to pit lane. As for a second we got a notification that Chris Puff was off the track again, but it looks like he is a-okay here. So 5 takers down on pit lane. Curious to see if these new tires are actually going to be able to help them out here, because this is going to be a short run to the finish here. I'd imagine all these drivers are taking tires and not just fuel. Yeah, there we go. So it looks like it's going to be 4 tires all around here. And as everyone makes their way back out onto the track, Johnny Bell is going to be the leader of the cars that came down pit lane. So let's take a look back. See what brought out this caution flag here. Word from race control that it is the 9 machine of Chris Puff. Having a little bit of a repeat incident from last time, just getting loose coming off of turn 4. Gets it pointed in the right direction, starts bringing it back up to speed. And everything seems okay right now. And then the car just slides out from under him. Fortunately, no drivers caught up in the incident as he slides back up onto the track. That was definitely scary to see. This time, it's Nico Morelli that's going to get the onboard view of potentially a slight colored brown moment here. You can see that little bit of tire smoke up there from where Chris Buff went off the speedway in turn 4. But he's back up on the track, looking like everything is a-okay. Everything is fine and good. Start to see a little bit of a slide going on up there. And then that's when he goes around it. Big swerve out Nico Morelli, managing to avoid that incident. So that's going to be what brings out caution flag number 3 out here on the speedway. And we are going to be 7 to go when we take the green flag here. So a 7-lap shootout to the finish. Your front runner is going to be Kevin West and Daniel Wiles. Then it's going to be Tommy Reynolds, Garrett Hess for row 2. Derek Murphy, Jason Gardner, row number 3. Sabelski and Rudolph, row 4. Logan and Sparks, row 5. Morrow and Bell, row 6. Feeney and Streets, row 7. Morelli and Wood, row 8. All drivers still on the lead lap except Chris Puff, who brought out that caution, and Daniel Sparks, who is retired from tonight's event. I'll tell you what, race fans, you better brace yourselves because this is going to be getting very hectic here for these final 7 laps of tonight's event. Let's see who has what it takes here in the short run at Fontana. And once we make it up to pit lane, sure enough, the IRC.com pace car gonna dive down to the safety of pit lane. I don't blame it. I would not want to be anywhere near this racetrack right now either. Things are going to be getting very hectic very quickly. Green flag back up in the air here at Fontana. A little bit of wiggling all around the field, going nearly 2 and 3 wide, maybe even 4 wide at some points. Why not, as everyone tries to get up to speed. Sure enough, 4 wide there for just a moment, and it looks like Morrow is doing some crazy moves up throughout the field. It looks like that 74 machine's new tires actually are doing a whole lot of work for him. Morrow going from us, I don't even know how far back that was. That was a crazy amount of moves there, as we are still 3 and 4 wide here at the back half of the pack. Right now we got, looks like Corey Logan side by side with Joshua Rudolph. Oh, watch out, watch out, watch out. Cars around. Corey Logan's down in the infield. Green flag is still up in the air. Nico Morelli is also off the speedway, but the green flag is still waving. Caution flag has not come out quite yet. 6 laps left to go here at Fontana. Michael Sparks going way up high here in that 42 machine, trying to see if he couldn't make a peek around the 38 of Brandon Feeney, but was not quite able to. I'll tell you what, everyone is still trying to use every single line of this speedway to the best that they can. Things a little bit spread out for the race lead here. But in the mid-pack, everyone is everywhere trying to make every inch of real estate work for him. Side by side here for Johnny Bell and Nico Morelli. Morelli did go off the speedway there for a little bit in that incident, but got it pointed in that right direction. We will take a look back at that incident should we go under yellow here or after the race. For right now, keeping things live here as drivers continue to duke it out here. This is still the battle for 10th on back to 16th, more or less. As things are absolutely crazy here at Auto Club Speedway. Going to be 4 to go as our race leader crosses the line here in just a moment. And big move there. That was Michael Sparks dropping down to the bottom of the speedway, I believe. No, it was not. That was the 13 of Landon Wood going down to the bottom there. Still too wide. Several rows deep here at the back half of the field. But everyone's keeping things pointed in the right direction. Things have calmed down just a little bit. How about 3 wide up here for third? Garrett Streets, Tommy Reynolds, Daniel Wiles. Trying to make it 3 wide here as Jeremy Morrow makes the pass for the race lead on Kevin West. It looks like these new tires actually made the difference as we see the 2 SM Racing Products drivers making their way up into the top 3. Kevin West is not going to give up that easily. He is currently our championship leader for a reason and is currently tied for the most wins so far here in season number 14. He's getting a little bit loose going down through turn number 2. He's sliding. He's holding on to it, but he's sliding big time. He's going to lose ground to Garrett Streets. It's now at SM Racing Products 1-2 here at Auto Club Speedway. Going to be 2 laps to go when we cross the line again. I'll tell you what, race fans, I did not anticipate tires making that much of a difference, but sure enough, Morrow and Streets and Feeney all took tires under that caution. They are first, second, and fourth, respectively, right now, and Feeney is closing the gap on Kevin West. These laced pitters looked like they very much had the right strategy under their belts here. 2 laps left to go here at Fontana. As long as a caution flag does not fly here in the next mile, we should be good to go to bring this race to a close. A little bit of blinking there for Jeremy Morrow, a little bit of connection issues. Still under green as we come to the checker or the white flag. And sure enough, a white flag up in the air. So next lap will be the end of this race. There will be no caution thrown if anyone has an incident here this evening. And it's going to be a battle between teammates for the race lead as we have a driver around. Corey Logan stopped on the backstretch. Again, caution flag will not fly here as we see our 2 race leaders make their way around side by side a little bit further back in the back. That is Daniel Wiles and Tommy Reynolds. But here in the battle for the race lead between teammates, Street sends it down to the bottom. Jeremy Morrow keeps it up high. Street's coming up behind Morrow, trying to see if he can't get enough draft to slingshot off of him. He's not going to be able to get it, though. Jeremy Morrow wins in an SM Racing Products 1-2 finish here at Fontana. As Kevin West... Oh, big incident coming down across the start-finish line. Kevin West involved. Garrett Hess, I believe, involved there. Daniel Wiles potentially also involved. What a crazy race it has been. For Streets giving a little bit of congratulations to his teammate of Jeremy Morrow. I could be mistaken here, but I believe that is Morrow's first win here in the ASRC Oval Series. Of course, Garrett Streets has taken home multiple wins and a championship here in the league. But apologies if I'm wrong here, but I'm fairly confident in saying that this is Jeremy Morrow's first race win here in the ASRC Oval Series. What a race it has been here. Let's see how that 74 machine manages to burn things down here tonight. Heck of a run for the SM Racing Products too. Of course, SM in SM Racing Products is the S for Streets and the M for Morrow. These 2 drivers, I think actually a little bit over a year ago, were looking on the sim racing gear market, wanted to pick up some extra gear for their rigs, and decided, you know what? We don't really like what all is being offered on the market right now. Why don't we try making something ourselves? And here we are now, the SM Racing Products Company, putting together all of their own sim racing gear, selling it online at their website. They put together a lot of good stuff. And of course, have been on board with ASRC as the title sponsor for the Oval Series for a pretty dang long time now. So congratulations to those 2 drivers for managing to put on a heck of a run here this evening. Now that said, before we go down to the interviews, I do want to take a quick look back at those incidents that we saw go down in the final couple of laps here in tonight's event. Let's see if we can't go back to them right quick. We had one go down with Corey Logan and Nico Morelli and potentially a couple other drivers here. That was contact with the 188 actually of Joshua Rudolph that sent Corey Logan down into the infield grass. Got it pointed in the right direction. No caution for that one. And then coming to the white flag, Corey Logan also had an incident. Let's look back at that right quick. And it looks like that was just a little bit of a self-spin from the tires being overheated from the previous spin. And then the last thing I wanted to look at was coming to the start-finish line. It looked like there was potentially an issue with Kevin West. And never mind. It looks like that might have been... Oh, that was a hard impact with Garrett Hess there. I'll tell you what, race fans, what an event has been here at Fontana. Don't go anywhere, though. We will be back here in just a moment to get some words with your top 3 finishers here this evening. Alrighty, race fans, welcome back to Fontana. Welcome back to an absolutely crazy end to round 10 here at the Auto Club Speedway for season 14 of the ASRC Oval Series presented by SM Racing Products. And I'll tell you what, this is the first time in a while we have seen a 1-2 finish for our title sponsor drivers. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time we've seen Jeremy Morrow up here in Victory Lane. So, Jeremy, how are you feeling here this evening?
Yeah, really happy. Really glad that strategy paid off. I know it was pretty risky, but it worked out really good.
Yeah, I tell you what, when I saw you all came down, I thought that was quite the gamble. I was not expecting the tires to have as much of a difference as it did, but then on that restart, I want to say you passed a good 6 or 7 cars in a single lap coming to the green there. What was going through your mind at that point?
Yeah, I knew from practice that 10 lap old tires definitely had some significant fall off, and so I was trying to save a set for the end, and then when I saved a set and was able to be the first car to save a set, I felt really good. I just knew I had to work hard to get through the field clean.
Sure enough, and it certainly seemed to work out for you here this evening. Coming into the night's event, though, did you think this was a track where you would potentially be getting your first league win?
I definitely didn't have it ruled out. This is probably my favorite track in iRacing. Not probably it.
Uh-oh, we seem to be cutting out here a little bit. You still there? Uh-oh. We might be having a little bit of technical difficulties here, but I'm not sure whose end it's on. Feeny, do you got me?
I got you.
Okay, so it's not on my end. We've confirmed that much. We'll give him just a minute to see if he comes back.
He's been a little blinky blinky.
I let him know that he dropped.
Well, we'll give him just a second here to see if he manages to come back, and if not, we might just have to come back to him afterwards. But still a heck of a race here this evening.
Aiden, I
Oh,
am
there we
back.
go.
Sorry I dropped there.
All good. It happens to the best of us. That's the joys of virtual racing.
Yeah, really glad that happened now and not during the race, huh?
That's certainly true. I think we lost a right as you said that Auto Club was your favorite track.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, Auto Club's my favorite track for sure on iRacing, so I felt pretty good about it coming in. I usually run pretty decent here if I can stay clean and was able to do that.
Well, it certainly worked out for you here tonight. A heck of a run by you. Next week, though, heading on over to Richmond, do you think that's a track where you could potentially go for number 2?
Um, Potentially. It's not my strongest track, but I think I should be able to run all right there.
Fair enough. And of course, with it being a 1-2 finish for the SM Racing Products crew, in those final couple laps, were there any sort of concerns with that other car being your teammate, or was it every man for himself out there?
No, I wasn't too concerned. Garrett was definitely talking to me on the mic, trying to get me to make a mistake, and luckily I knew he wouldn't wreck me, so I knew I just had to stay in front of him and was able to prevent from making a mistake and do that.
Good deal. Well, heck of a run for you here tonight. Before I let you go and celebrate your taking home your win here this evening, the microphone is all yours, Mr. Morrow. Who do you want to thank for making everything happen here tonight?
Yeah, huge shout out to SM Racing Products and Garrett and everything that he does over there. He does really awesome work. Um, Thanks to Aiden Kaiser for doing a little bit of spotting for the team tonight, and thanks to my girlfriend for watching.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out here tonight. Congratulations on the win here this evening, and I look forward to seeing you next week at Richmond.
Thank you.
And fishing back position number 2 here. Of course, the S part of the S and M in SM Racing Products, Mr. Garrett Streets. You've taken home a championship here in the league. This season, not quite going as strong for you as we saw you last season, but still a very solid run for you here this evening. How are you feeling now that everything's said and done here tonight?
Feeling really good. It was a tough race. I ended up giving myself 2 speed. That first green flag pit cycle, I got speeding on exit, and then I came back around to serve my penalty, and I got speeding on entry, and so ended up having to do a 30-second hold there, and that changed my strategy quite a bit. I would have liked to take tires on that second set, which would have put me on, or that first caution, which would have put me on the same strategy as because because of that going a lap down and everything there and trying to get it back. I wanted to take the wave around, which put me on that same strategy as Jeremy and Brandon. But luckily that worked out. We ended up having the caution, and yeah, we're able to make a run for it there at the end.
Well, I think that what surprises me the most to hear all of that is that you and your teammate weren't initially running the same strategy.
Uh, sorry, let me check this here. I got a mic problem.
Oh yeah, I did cut out a little bit there.
All right, let's try this now. Yeah, I had planned to run with the leaders and run on their strategy. That initial run, I think we were fourth. I was running down third place there, Tommy. So I felt like I had the speed to compete for the top three. But Jeremy had some hiccups at the beginning of the race and fell back and decided to change his strategy. And I just got forced into doing what he was doing. And I didn't know that that was his strategy until we got to that point. But I knew I needed to get my lap back when I could. So just ran around there on old tires a little bit and hoped for one so we could get that other set.
Sure enough. I guess the big question then is, in a hypothetical situation where you didn't get those penalties down on pit lane and you stuck to your original plan, do you think you still could be walking away with the podium tonight?
I don't know. I don't think I would have had anything for Kevin if that all doesn't happen. Maybe would have been able to run third. But yeah, it was a tough field. We had good pace. I was pretty happy with how that pace was, but I don't think we would have been able to run second or probably have a shot at the win.
Fair enough. I guess in the grand scheme of things, it worked out for you then. And of course, next week heading on over to Richmond, do you think that's another track where you might be taking home a podium or even a win?
I don't know. It's been a little bit. I enjoy Richmond. It's kind of a unique track. I've had some good runs there and official stuff over the year, but I don't know. We'll just have to see. Richmond likes to burn the right front off, which I luckily have better tire saving capability in the Gen 4 than I do in some of the other stuff, just being able to use the horsepower and get on the right rear. But I'll look forward to it. I think it's going to be a good challenge, probably be a good race, a lot of drama and everything going back to a short track.
Good deal. That seems like a solid plan to me. But of course, before I let you go and start getting ready for Richmond next week, the microphone is all yours, Mr. Streets. Who do you want to thank for making things happen here tonight?
I want to thank all the people at ASRC that put this on. Jason, Johnny, all those guys. I want to thank you for doing an excellent job in the broadcast booth every week. It's great to have a broadcast at a race and a great quality broadcast like you put on. Want to thank Jeremy for all the stuff that he does at SM Racing Products. If you guys are in the market for a button box dashboard flag display, feel free to check us out. Send us a message at smracingproducts.com. And then I want to give a shout out to my girlfriend for supporting me and letting me do some sim racing on a Monday night. One last thing, I want to give a shout out to Corey. Hated that his race got ruined there at the end. Just a lot of beating and banging in the pack stacking up. So feel really bad about that. He had a great run. So hope to see him run better next week.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out here tonight, and I look forward to seeing you at Richmond next week.
Yeah, we'll see you next time. Thank you, Aiden.
And finishing back in position number 3, Mr. I've Got Nothing to Lose, Brandon Feeney. You do realize that you're second in the championship standings coming into tonight's race, and walking away with a podium in front of the championship points leader could be putting you in a good situation next week at Richmond.
Yeah, We just show up and see what we can do each week. I like to just play opposite strategy, like and see what comes of it. Because then, as I run more and more leagues, I can transfer data between leagues, stuff like that, and try to get as many wins as possible.
Fair enough. And of course, coming into tonight's event, I saw you doing a little bit of an off strategy here tonight. Were you trying to make that a one-stopper here this evening?
I was going to make it a one-stopper. I was going to run it probably coming to 3 and 4 in the last lap. That's why I pushed it and ran out of gas in the first lap. But it was just caution flag came at a bad time, caught me a lap down, so it changed the whole strategy up.
Fair enough. I mean, it certainly seemed to work out for you, walking away with the podium finish here tonight. First time we managed to have you up here in the booth in a little while, so a heck of a run for you. Going into tonight's event, though, did you think this would be a track you would be doing well at?
Yeah, this was where I got my first win with the league, and it was the same thing, one-stop strategy. So I knew I could do it. I just had to run the risk of running no cautions, and unfortunately caught me at a bad time, but it worked out in the end.
Sure enough, heck of a run for you. And it's like I said, I didn't think tires would be that much of a deal, but then you all just shot up through the field. Do you think if you did stick to that one-stop strategy and you weren't, if the race stayed green, I suppose, do you think that it still would have worked out for you seeing what you've seen out of the other drivers here tonight?
Yeah, I think the one-stop still would have worked because you were losing almost a lap down on pit road. So even though you lose about a lap saving the fuel, you're going to still be a lap ahead of everyone when it's said and done. Or best case scenario, catch a yellow when you have everyone trapped a lap down, and then you come down for a free pit stop. But it was just one of those things. I couldn't race with the speed I wanted to tonight because I'm a bit sore because I had a race car fall on me on Saturday. So still heavy.
Fair enough. I mean, not everyone can say that they had a race car fall on them and then walk away with a podium finish. Hopefully that heals up good for you soon, because next week heading on over to a short track. You reckon you'll be taking home another podium or even a win over there?
Now I'll be probably taking home the wall on both sides of the track.
Fair enough. I like the honesty. You're not bragging. I'm curious to see what actually happens over there, but I respect it.
Hey, you got to be honest with yourself and then hope for the best, right? If it comes out on the other end better than you hope, then it is what it is. If it comes out worse, then well, practice more.
Sure enough. And I mean, you're in a situation where you could potentially win a championship here in the league. Of course, that is always, you're just here for whatever happens. But do you think you might be able to go for it between Richmond and then Charlotte after that?
Probably not, to be honest with you. As you know, as I run another league right before this, so I don't even get time sometimes to sneak in here for practice, and it does hurt you in the long run speed, and it does hurt you with the overall speed. But we'll see what happens. Anything can happen. Kevin can have a bad day. I could have a great day, and who knows?
Fair enough. Either way, heck of a race for you here tonight. I don't want to keep you here tonight considering you had a car fall on you. So for now, the microphone is all yours, Mr. Feeney. Who do you want to thank for making things happen here tonight?
I want to thank you for putting on the broadcast and the ASRC boys for putting on this league and making it late enough that I can run it after my other one. And then hope y'all check me out on the Feeney Call podcast.
Good deal. Well, thank you for coming out here tonight. Heck of a run for you. And I look forward to seeing you next week at Richmond.
All right, see you later, Aiden.
You're your first race fans, your top three finishers here tonight. Jeremy Morrow, Garrett Streets, Brandon Feeney, your three podium finishers here this evening. But of course, those weren't the only drivers out here on the Auto Club Speedway here this evening, putting on a heck of a show for us here tonight. So how about we take a look down at our unofficial race results. Again, these really rarely ever actually change, so they might as well be official. But we're saying they're unofficial just to put that big asterisk there, just in case anything does actually happen post-race. But as it stands right now, of course, Morrow taking home a win here tonight. A 1-2 finish for the SM Racing Products crew with Brandon Feeney in the 38, bringing it home position number 3. Back and forth, it's the championship points leader, the 0-1 of Kevin West, with rookie driver Tommy Reynolds rounding out the top 5 here this evening. Back in 6, that's going to be the 17 of Daniel Wiles, followed by the Dirty Mo Radio 14 of Nico Morelli. League admin Jason Gardner in the 93 back in position number 8. Then the Nihon Tiger 85 of Brian Zabelski back in 9th. with the beautiful WinRAR 00 of Garrett Hess rounding out the top 10 here this evening. Back in 11th is going to be the 13 of Landon Wood with Joshua Rudolph in the 188, following just behind in 12th. Michael Sparks in the 42 going to be bringing it home in 13th with Corey Logan in the 24 back in 14th. Derek Murphy in the 78 back in 15th here this evening. Then it's going to be Chris Puff in the 9 machine back in 16th. Johnny Bell in the 27 bringing it home 17th. With Daniel Sparks in the number 4 rounding out this 18 car field. That said, that's just about all we got here from the Auto Club Speedway up here in Fontana, California. It's been a heck of a run here tonight. Only 2 races left here for Season 14, but of course a full 26 races left for the overall Gen 4 Championship still to come. But next week, heading on over to Richmond for 100 miles of competition, then crowning our Season 14 champion for this 12-week period at Charlotte for the Charlotte 150. That's it, though. Thank you all for tuning in here tonight. It has been quite the event here this evening. And for now, we'll see y'all same day, same time, Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern next week for Richmond Raceway. Thank you all for tuning in here tonight, and